Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely paradigm shifting. We are looking at agents per gigawatt, which is literally the new unit of global power. For centuries, we've relied on these very specific metrics to tell us who is winning on the global stage. But right now, those old metrics are breaking in real time. So I want you to imagine this for a second. How do you measure a nation's power when humans are no longer doing the actual work? We're standing right at the edge of a post-labor economy, and it's a transition that completely upends our current economic rulebook. I mean, if the bulk of cognitive work is shifting away from human minds and into the digital realm, our traditional yardsticks instantly become obsolete. To understand where we're going, we really have to understand exactly what we're leaving behind. If you look back through history, every era logically measures its power based on its most strictly bound scarce resource, right? So in agrarian empires, power was simply arable land and having the people required to work it. Fast forward to the industrial age, and that power shifted to steel tonnage and coal. Then in the 20th century, we adopted GDP, or gross domestic product. And honestly, GDP was a brilliant measure for its time because it tracked exactly how much a nation of humans could produce with their labor and their capital. It perfectly tracked the binding constraint of its specific moment. For 200 years, human labor was the undisputed productive engine. Literally everything else, factories, tools, institutions, just existed to make that human labor more productive. But if we try to apply that 20th century GDP metric to an autonomous AI economy, it highlights a glaring absurdity. Trying to measure our emerging economy using GDP is kind of like looking at a booming industrial powerhouse and trying to rank it by counting the number of draft animals it owns. It's not exactly wrong, but it is completely missing the point. The old proxy is broken. Because the reality is, the new productive engine is autonomous cognition at scale. We are moving incredibly fast toward a future where an ever-growing share of cognitive work, whether that's drafting, analyzing, coding, negotiating, researching, is being done by fleets of autonomous AI agents. And they are doing it at volumes and speeds that no human workforce could ever possibly match. Since this new engine isn't bounded by the human population or traditional human productivity, our old yardstick is useless. We absolutely need a new unit of measurement. Okay, let's dive into this chain of constraints. If the human population isn't the cap on this new economy, what is? Well, if you follow the mechanics all the way down to the bottom, a very clear chain emerges. More AI agents require more tokens. Those tokens demand intense compute from chips running flat out. And all those chips, they bottleneck at one ultimate physical reality: raw electrical power. At the end of the day, all AI ultimately bottlenecks at the power grid. Which brings us to this stark realization. A gigawatt of reliable, deliverable power is the raw feedstock of cognition now. And this fundamentally changes how we have to view the physical world around us. Think about the mad scramble for power purchase agreements, the reopened nuclear plants, the massive new data centers. These aren't just adjacent to the AI build-out. They literally are the AI build-out. Seen from the foundational layer, this is what binds the entire system. Everything upstream, all the models, all the software, is really just a conversion process, turning watts into thought. And that gives us our completely new unit of measurement, agents per gigawatt. This is defined as exactly how much autonomous cognitive work a nation or a company can run per unit of energy it commands. And listen, this isn't just a clever metaphor. Based on the analysis, this is the literal mathematical accounting unit of the brand new economy we are actively building. It is the absolute hard physical ceiling on the rate at which you can convert energy into digital intelligence. Now, what's really fascinating here is how adopting this single unit suddenly brings incredible clarity to the entire world around us. It takes all these massive, chaotic, seemingly disconnected global news stories from the last couple of years and snaps them instantly into one cohesive picture. Once you hold this specific framing in your mind, the biggest stories of our time stop being separate altogether. Suddenly, these massive global sectors make perfect sense. The trillions of dollars flowing into data center buildouts, that's simply a massive race to install conversion capacity. Hardware? Every new chip is just desperately trying to raise that conversion ratio. Then there's sovereignty, where national power is now literally defined by owning the infrastructure to convert power to cognition. And finally, labor. We aren't just losing jobs, we are watching an economic exchange rate shift in real time. We're transitioning from work priced in human wages to work done by agents and priced in tokens. If we look closer at the hardware industry, we're seeing a complete refounding taking place. All these incredibly complex advancements, We're talking low-voltage designs, pooled memory interconnects, specialized silicon. They all share one single obsessive goal: squeezing more cognitive agents out of each inputted gigawatt. The entire tech industry, whether they explicitly say it in their marketing or not, is in a massive, high-stakes race to optimize this specific mathematical ratio. And this radically shifts the geopolitical stakes for everyone. Take Europe as a prime example. From a strictly impartial analytical standpoint, Europe's position becomes highly legible as a specific vulnerability. They consume abundant intelligence beautifully, but their sovereign capacity, meaning the chips they fabricate domestically and the power grids they fully control, is dangerously thin. In a world measured in agents per gigawatt, a nation that constantly has to import its chips and rent its data centers has a very low sovereign ratio, regardless of how brilliant its human researchers happen to be. This leads straight into a profound macroeconomic reality. Energy policy has quietly become intelligence policy. Power generation is now a determinant of geopolitical rank in a way we really haven't seen since the dawn of the coal age. A country that throttles its own power build-out or fails to secure massive, reliable sources of energy is quite literally throttling its own future agent capacity, and by extension, its national intelligence. The two concepts have completely merged. This totally flips our definition of efficiency on its head. In the 20th century, efficiency was primarily about cost savings, right? Just optimizing your bottom line. But in the AI era, for power-constrained regions or resource-constrained builders, efficiency equals sovereignty. If you simply cannot command more raw gigawatts, your absolute only path to staying globally competitive is to get more agents out of the gigawatts you already have. Squeezing more cognition out of each watt isn't just good business anymore, it's a matter of national survival. We also have to impartially examine a pretty stark reality about this new paradigm. Measuring power in agents per gigawatt is inherently centralizing. Gigawatts of reliable power. They're very unevenly distributed across the globe. Chip fabrication plants are highly centralized, and the capital required to build all of this scales exponentially. A measure of power that reduces down to who can convert the most energy into the most cognition massively and automatically rewards those who already command energy and capital at scale. Because this new unit naturally centralizes power so heavily, there is a strong strategic counter-movement outlined in the analysis that advocates for distributed capability. This means pushing for open weights in AI models and focusing heavily on local inference, basically running models on smaller, private hardware. The goal here isn't necessarily pure economic optimization. Actually, it's a deliberate strategy to keep the means producing intelligence spread across many hands. The idea is to make sure the mind of the future doesn't end up solely controlled by just 3 megacorporations and 2 nation-states. So, if the binding constraint of our entire era has shifted, and energy is now literally the raw material of intelligence, who will control the mind of the future? We are permanently transitioning away from a world measured by human labor and into a reality dictated by agents per gigawatt. Understanding this specific unit is absolutely the key to understanding the next century of global economics, geopolitics, and human progress. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this new framework helps you see our rapidly changing world just a little bit clearer.